We all know AI is getting incredibly powerful, right? So the big question isn't if we need to manage the risks, but how we do it. Well, the European Union has a plan for this. It's a strategy to get ahead of the biggest threats from the most capable AI models, and it all comes down to one really important piece of legislation, Article 90.
Now, what we're going to talk about today is based on a pretty detailed legal commentary. And it's really important to mention this analysis was carried out under the scientific supervision of Professor Vihar Kiskinov. So, with that expert foundation, let's really dig in and see what this law is all about. So, what is Article 90? The best way to think about it is as the EU's AI watchtower. And this isn't about cleaning up messes after they happen. Nope, this is all about being proactive. It's an early warning system. The whole idea is to have independent scientists, the experts, spotting huge potential risks from those big general-purpose AI models, the ones everyone's talking about, and then sound the alarm before any real damage is done.
All right, so here's our game plan for understanding this whole system. We'll start with the why, the idea behind this AI watchtower. Then we'll look at how the alert system was actually created and what it takes to set it off. After that, we'll walk through what an investigation looks like and what happens to AI that's deemed too risky. And finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about why this is so important for all of us.
So let's talk about the big idea here, because it's a real shift in how we approach regulation. I mean, AI moves at lightning speed, right? Waiting for something to break is just not an option. It's way too slow. So Article 90 builds this proactive defense. It's designed to catch major threats before they're baked into everything we do. You could say it's a bet on getting ahead of the problem, instead of the old break it, then maybe fix it later approach we've seen so often with tech.
Okay, so how did this watchtower actually get built? Well, the backstory of Article 90 is pretty telling. It reveals that right from the start, pretty much everyone agreed that a system like this was needed. And you can see that in just how fast the whole thing came together.
And I mean swift. The first draft in January 2024 already had the basic structure in place. It got tweaked a bit in March and April, and by June, the final version was out. But here's the key thing. The main purpose, that core function, it stayed pretty much the same throughout. That tells you just how essential everyone involved thought this was.
But there was one really interesting and important tweak along the way, and it was all about the wording. The original draft used the phrase reasons for suspicion. The final version changed that to reasons for the alert. Now that might sound like just playing with words, but it's a huge deal. It basically raised the bar. It means you need a much higher standard of evidence to sound the alarm. This makes sure the watchtower is focused on real, credible threats, not just, vague worries or speculation.
So, with this higher bar, what does it actually take to sound the alarm? I mean, this scientific panel can't just raise a flag whenever they feel like it. It turns out there are two very specific, very distinct situations that can trigger a formal alert.
Okay, let's break these two triggers down. First, you've got what's called a concrete identifiable risk. This is all about evidence. It means there's a real, tangible, provable danger happening at the EU level. It's not a what if, it's a what is. The second trigger is different. It's about the AI model itself being classified as having systemic risk. This happens when a model is just so powerful and so widely used, think massive computational power, that its sheer scale is a risk. So in this case, you can sound the alarm based on the model's potential for harm, even if nothing bad has happened yet. So to put it simply, one is about a specific proven danger, and the other is about overwhelming inherent power.
All right, so the alarm goes off. One of those two conditions has been met. What happens next? Well, this is where a very clear, very structured process gets rolling. This isn't about hitting the panic button. It's about starting a calm, methodical investigation, and that's run by the EU's brand new AI office.
And when we say formal alert, we're not talking about a quick email. This is a serious, detailed file. It has to lay out the complete case. That means it includes who the AI provider is, a super detailed description of the facts and the reasons behind the alert, and any other supporting info they can find. Things like academic research, public reports, you name it. It's all about building a solid, evidence-based case.
The process itself follows a very clear chain of command. It starts with the independent scientific panel. They're the ones who send the qualified alert to the AI office. Think of the AI office as the central enforcement hub. Then, to make sure everyone's in the loop, the AI office tells the main AI board, which is made up of people from all the EU countries. And once that's done, the AI office officially kicks off its investigation.
So, that's the process. But it brings up a huge question, right? What can these investigators actually do? What kind of power do they have to figure out what's really going on? And this is where you see the law really has some teeth. The AI Act doesn't just ask nicely. It gives the AI office a whole toolkit of powers. And these powers escalate, so they can really dig into the risk and, if they need to, force the AI company to take action.
And the response is always proportional to the risk. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They start by just asking for information, technical documents, risk assessments. If that's not enough, they can ramp things up and do their own tests. And in really rare situations, they can even get access to the source code. From there, they can demand specific changes. If the situation is getting serious, they can limit where or how the model is used. And then, the final step, the nuclear option, if you will. If nothing else works, they have the power to order the model to be pulled from the market completely.
Okay, so we've gone through a lot of the legal details here. Let's pull back and look at the big picture. Why should you care about all this? What does it actually mean for our future with AI?
When you boil it all down, the entire EU AI Act, and especially this Article 90 we've been talking about, is really trying to walk a very fine line. It's a massive bet. A bet that we can build a system that lets AI innovation run wild in a good way, but at the same time have strong guardrails to make sure these incredibly powerful systems are safe. It's all about finding that sweet spot between progress and protection.
And this all leaves us with one final, and I think really crucial question to think about. The AI watchtower is now standing. It's built, but the world it's watching over is changing by the second. So the real challenge for all of us moving forward is this. How do we make sure our watchtowers are strong enough to keep us safe, but not so tall that they block our view of the amazing future that AI could help us build?